This is my promised video about how to do a couple of the problems in the homework. You remember that we talked about ways to write 1. The idea is when we do conversions in this type of problem that we're writing ratios that equal to 1 up here. We write the ratios so that the top and the bottom are equal to each other and they equal 1. We write the ratios in such a way that our undesirable units cancel out. So let's take a look at this number 1. So we want to change 25 centigrams of lead to cubic meters. PB stands for lead, AU stands for gold. Those are chemical symbols, AU's down here. All right, so 25 centigrams of lead, we're going to change to cubic millimeters. So we have 25 centigrams, and we want to find how many mm to the third power. That's our question. All right, there's no bottom to this, so it's just 25 centigrams. You can put a 1 down there if you want to. All right, centigrams measure mass. Cubic millimeters, if it's cubic, that means it's three-dimensional, like this. So cubic millimeters measure volume. Density ties together mass and volume. So we're going to use density as a bridge between mass and volume. So since the density is given in the unit of gram as its mass unit, we need to change our centigrams into grams. So we'll go ahead and do that. We put centigrams down here, we put grams on the top. See, this allows us to cancel centigrams because when you do the math, centigrams will be divided by centigrams and that cancels out. So we need to write 1 in such a way that the top equals the bottom. Okay, so this kind of logic, like here's one almost exact example. So 1 liter was 100 centiliters in an earlier video that I made. So we could say that 1 gram is 100 centigrams. Of course, you're going to need to know your metric relationships. So one thing is 100 centithings. One thing, 100 centithings, so we have to say that 1 gram here is 100 centigrams. For our next step in solving this problem, these are all going to be multiple steps. We're going to put grams on the bottom so that we can cancel grams. We need to get rid of it. And we have a relationship between grams and cubic centimeters. And cubic centimeters is a unit of volume. Of course, grams is mass. So we're going to put cubic centimeters on top since we're given that relationship. We know that 11.3 goes with grams, and that matches 1 cubic centimeter. There is no number in front of the cubic centimeter, so that's considered to be an exact 1. An exact 1, which means it doesn't limit you on sig figs. This, however, does limit your sig figs, and so does the 25. And I was sloppy here. I should have written 25.0. Okay, next step, we need to get rid of cubic centimeters, so we're going to put them on the bottom. And I don't know that you're going to know the relationship between cubic centimeters and cubic millimeters. If you do, that's fine. I'm going to show you how to do this problem by going to the base unit. And the base unit for volume would be cubic meters. So I'm going to put cubic meters on top. And then I'm going to go ahead and put cubic meters down here so it cancels and put cubic millimeters on top. So we're going to need to know the relationship between cubic meters and cubic centimeters, and then we'll put cubic millimeters with cubic meters. I usually say put 1 with the bigger thing. So which is bigger, a cubic meter or a cubic centimeter? A cubic meter would be something like your washing machine. This would be about the size of a dice. And you remember that when we drew these cubes in class, we said that if this was 1 meter, that's 100 centimeters. So the volume of this cube would be 100 times 100 times 100, or 1 million. For the same cube, if we use cubic millimeters, we'd have 1,000 millimeters on the side, so it'd be 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000 would be 1 billion. And now you'd be ready to do the math. And I'm going to pull a calculator up so you can watch me do that. We have 25.0. You really don't need to add the 0.0 on a calculator because it just assumes that if you say 25, it assumes that that's 25.000000000. It makes assumptions that aren't true. Going to show you everything I do. You don't need to do the times 1 that I'm about to do, because anything times 1 is just the same thing. However, there are 3 ones here, so I just did 25 times 1 times 1 times 1, then times 1 billion. When the calculator comes up with an answer like this, that means 2.5 times 10 to the 10th power. I'm going to write that at the top, 2.5 times 10 to the 10th. On the bottom, I'm going to divide by everything that's on the bottom. Now you have a couple of options. I guess I'll show you both options. So we would take 1 times 100 times 11.3 times 1 million. This was over 1 because 1 goes to the bigger thing. And that equals 1, 1, 3, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. It's a big number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. Now what you would do is divide the top by the bottom. Let's check out our units. We know that grams, centigrams cancel, grams canceled, cubic centimeters cancel, cubic meters cancel. I'm only left with cubic millimeters for a unit. So I have 2.5 times 10 to the 10th. On a calculator, to get times 10, you're going to use an EXP or an EE button. So this one has EXP. Notice that I did not enter times 10. Just 2.5, then EXP 10. Going to divide by 113 and then 7 zeros, I said. So final answer would be 22.1238931 cubic millimeters, which is an untruth. That's not correct. But that's what the calculator says. The trouble is the calculator just doesn't know. So you'll go back and look at your sig figs. You've got 3 here, because it's 25.0 up here. You've got 3 here, so your answer is going to have 3 sig figs. So 1, 2, 3, you have to stop there. Since that's followed by a 2, you don't change the 1. So the answer, final answer, is 22.1 cubic millimeters. And you'll notice I gave you the answer up here. All right, that's the end of that question, but I want to show you mathematically another way to do it. So I'm going to take you in your mind back to here. So I'm going to punch in 2.5 times 10 to the 10th. 2.5 EXP 10. The way I do these problems, which I think is simpler than writing it all down, I just take this answer and divide by everything that's on the bottom. So I would take 2.5 times 10 to the 10th, divide by 1, divide by 100, divide by 11.3, divide by a million, divide by 1, equals. See how it's the same answer? So after you get the number that is on the top, you multiply everything across the top, then you divide that number by everything that's on the bottom. Let's take a look at the next question. All right, we have 50.0 nanograms per liter. We need to change to micrograms per kiloliter, so I'm going to change nanograms to micrograms, but I don't know that relationship off the top of my list. We do, however, have our metric relationship list, which has nano on it, and it also has micro on it. So we're going to go to the base unit first. So put nanograms here and put just plain grams up here. Then your metric relationship sheet tells you that one thing is a billion nanothings, or 1 gram is a billion nanograms. So 1 gram is a billion. I'm going to go ahead and use scientific notation instead of writing all the zeros. We don't want grams in our final answer, so we put grams here and put nanograms, or put micrograms up here, not nanograms, micrograms. So one of these is a million of those based on your metric relationships list, or what I'll call affectionately your things list. So if we stop and work the problem now, our unit would be micrograms per liter. We don't want liters on the bottom though, we want kiloliters. So I need to get rid of liters and change it to kiloliters. So where could I put liters so that it would cancel out? Well, since it's on the bottom here, it could go on the top there. And on the bottom, I'd put kiloliters. Then you'd look at your things list. So a kilothing is 1,000 things. 1 kilothing is 1,000 things. Now when we do the math, we've got 50 times 1 times a billion times times a million times 1,000, then divide that all by a billion. 1,000 times a million is a billion. A billion on the bottom, they're going to cancel, so our final answer is just going to be what we started with, but the unit will be different. It'll be 50.0 micrograms per kiloliter. Are these zeros important? Yes. The only limiting factor we have on sig figs is this measurement right here, which had 3 sig figs, so this answer needs to have 3 sig figs in it. These are definitions, so they have infinite sig figs. Our answer needs to have 3. I'm going to go ahead and do number 3 and leave 4, 5, and 6 for you to try. So 45 centigrams is our next one per milliliter. We want to change to kilograms, so I'm going to get rid of centigrams by putting it on the, you guessed it, on the bottom. Since I don't know off the top of my head the relationship between kilograms and centigrams, I'm just going to go to the base unit, because our things list tells us that 100 centithings is 1 thing. So 1 thing, 100 centithings. Put grams here, put kilograms here. Our things list tells us that 1 kilothing is 1,000 things. 1,000. I'm hoping that you remember that in class we talked about that little cube that was 1 meter on the side, 10 decimeters. So 1 meter cubed, which is this, is equal to 1,000 cubic decimeters. Then I hope you also remember that 1 liter is the same thing as 1 cubic decimeter. So if you remember all of that, then it will make sense that we could say that I could put milliliters here and put liters here. The things list tells us that 1 thing is 1,000 millithings. So 1 thing is 1,000 millithings. Again, you can put 1, think about putting 1 with the bigger of the things. So 1 liter is bigger than a milliliter, so 1 goes to liters. Then we could put liters and cubic decimeters. They're the same thing, so 1 is 1. Remember, 1 liter is 1 cubic decimeter. And then the last step here would be to go get rid of cubic decimeters, put it on top because you need to cancel it. Put cubic meters down here. 1 goes to the bigger thing, and 1 cubic meter is 1,000 cubic decimeters. Now you do the math. I'll mention the units cancel. Everything's gone. We set it up so that we'd be left with kilograms on top. Milliliters cancel there, liters cancel there, cubic decimeters cancel there, and you have cubic meters on the bottom. And that's what you wanted. So you get kilograms, and you want to change that to cubic meters. Wait a minute, does that say cubic meters? That says cubic decimeters. Does it say cubic decimeters? It does. So I made a mistake. You don't need that step. So you're finished at that point. So now if we do the math, 45 times 1 times 1,000 divided by 100 divided by 1,000 equals. And that's kilograms over cubic decimeters. So there you have 1, 2, and 3. So hopefully that helps, and I'll take questions again in class tomorrow.